All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking Dale Carnegie's absolute bedrock principles for human influence. We've all wondered why some people just seem to effortlessly command respect, while the rest of us, well, we end up arguing or feeling totally ignored. So we're going to map out the exact psychology behind human interaction, and honestly, it starts with a pretty wild example of human nature.
Take a guy like Two Gun Crawley. The New York police commissioner literally described him as a man who would kill at the drop of a feather. Yet, during a bloody standoff with the cops, bleeding and trapped in an apartment, Crawley sat down and wrote a letter. And in it, he didn't call himself a monster. No way! He called himself a victim with a kind heart who was just defending himself, while actively firing at the police. So think about that for a second. If one of the most ruthless criminals couldn't see his own faults, how do you think your coworker feels when you correct them? Or even Al Capone, the most notorious mobster in Chicago, genuinely thought of himself as an unappreciated public benefactor. Human nature basically dictates that almost nobody ever blames themselves, no matter how objectively wrong they are. When we criticize a friend or a family member, do we really think they're just going to say, "Oh, you're right, my mistake," and change? Which brings us to Section 1, the human nature trap. Look, here's the reality. 99 times out of 100, people do not criticize themselves for anything. The famous psychologist Hans Selye actually hit the nail on the head when he said that as much as we thirst for approval, we absolutely dread condemnation. Criticism is practically futile. It just puts people on the defensive and wounds their pride. We aren't making lasting changes when we scold someone. We're just breeding resentment.
Moving right along to Section 2, stop criticizing and complaining.
This is the foundational technique for literally any human interaction. The premise is painfully simple. Any fool can criticize, condemn, and complain. And let's be honest, most fools do. It takes real character, real self-control to step back, be understanding, and actually forgive. Remember the psychologist B.F. Skinner? He proved through extensive experiments that punishing bad behavior just doesn't teach effectively. Whether it's animals or humans, it is the reward system that solidifies learning. Rewarding good behavior works infinitely better than punishment. That's exactly why chewing someone out never gets us the collaborative results we're actually looking for. Even Abraham Lincoln had to figure this out the hard way. In his youth, he loved writing these incredibly sarcastic, mocking letters. One of them actually almost got him killed in a broadsword duel in 1842. But he evolved. Fast forward to the Civil War, and General Meade completely disobeys Lincoln's orders, letting Robert E. Lee's army escape. Lincoln was absolutely furious. He wrote Meade a blistering letter. But guess what? He never sent it. He had learned that sharp criticisms are a dead end. Or take the legendary test pilot Bob Hoover. He nearly died when a mechanic accidentally filled his World War II propeller plane with jet fuel. Obviously, the engine died and the plane crashed. Instead of absolutely losing his mind on the guy, which, most of us probably would, Hoover did the exact opposite. He walked up, put his arm around the crying mechanic, and said he wanted him to service his plane the very next day. Hoover's radical forgiveness guaranteed that mechanic would never, ever make a careless mistake again.
All right, Section 3, give honest, sincere appreciation. Once we stop tearing people down, we have to build them up. Philosopher John Dewey called it the desire to be important. William James called it a craving to be appreciated. This is the psychological anchor of human behavior. It's the exact same urge that makes us buy houses way too big for our needs or desperately chase the latest fashion trends. We all have this gnawing, unfaltering hunger to feel like we matter. Which brings us to Charles Schwab. Andrew Carnegie paid him an unprecedented annual salary of $1 million back in 1921. Just to put that into perspective, that was before income taxes, in an era when $50 a week was considered a fantastic living. So why? Was Schwab some kind of steel manufacturing savant? Not at all. Schwab himself admitted that plenty of the guys working for him knew way more about making steel. The real reason? Schwab spelled out his $1 million secret himself: his ability to arouse enthusiasm. He said the best way to develop a person is through appreciation and encouragement. He never criticized his team. He was eager to praise and hated finding fault. That sincere appreciation was literally the bedrock of his wild corporate success. Now, a quick caveat here. We have to be super careful not to confuse genuine appreciation with cheap flattery. Discerning people can smell flattery a mile away, and they'll reject it instantly. Flattery is counterfeit, it's selfish, and it comes from the teat out. But real appreciation, That comes from the heart out. It's unselfish. It requires us to actually stop thinking about ourselves for 2 seconds and focus on the genuine good in the other person. And that leads us perfectly into section 4, arouse an eager want. Think about it like going fishing. I absolutely love strawberries and cream, but if I'm trying to catch a fish, I'm not gonna bait the hook with a strawberry. I use what the fish wants, a wriggling worm. It sounds ridiculously obvious, right? Yet we forget this basic logic all the time. We walk into arguments or negotiations, and we only talk about what we want. But if you want to influence someone, you literally have to talk about what they want and show them how to get it. Here's a great real-world application. Stan Novak's toddler was kicking and screaming, totally refusing to start kindergarten. Stan didn't yell, he didn't threaten. Instead, he gathered the rest of the family at the kitchen table, and they just started finger painting, having an absolute blast. Of course, the kid wants to join in, but Stan says, "Oh no, you have to go to kindergarten first to learn how to finger paint." Boom. By the next morning, that kid was sitting in a chair, wide awake, eager to go to school. Pure genius. Similarly, the author once faced a massive 300% rent increase for a hotel ballroom he rented for a lecture series. Instead of storming into the manager's office to complain about his own wallet, he mapped out how the hotel would lose out on its own desires. Sure, the hotel would have the ballroom free for other dances, but they'd lose his rent money entirely, plus they'd lose all the free advertising his high society lectures brought in. By speaking strictly to what the hotel wanted, he got that massive increase dropped down to just 50%.
Finally, section 5, the secret to influence.
Henry Ford really hit the nail on the head here. This is the golden thread tying all these strategies together. Seeing things from the other person's angle. It's so simple, yet we ignore it 90% of the time. Next time you write an email or ask for a favor, ask yourself, am I just listing my demands or am I showing how I can solve their problem? So here is the whole shebang. 3 actionable things to transform your interactions right now. 1, drop the criticism. It just puts people on the defensive. 2, feed that deep human hunger for importance by giving genuine, heartfelt appreciation. And 3, stop baiting the hook with strawberries. Arouse an eager want in the other person by seeing the world through their eyes. By mastering these techniques from Carnegie's legendary work, you are basically equipping yourself with a superpower. These aren't just parlor tricks, it's a fundamental shift. You're moving away from a mindset of command and critique and stepping into one of true empathy and encouragement. So I'll just leave you with this one thought to ponder before your very next conversation. Are you looking at things from their angle or just your own? Honestly, answering that question might just change your life. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time as we keep decoding the psychology behind what makes us tick.